What's up, everybody? Welcome to the final Hana podcast of the year. Pastor Owen, back again.
Wow. It's final.
Last one of 2021.
Dang, it went by fast. Did
Yeah,
it?
I feel like okay. I've got this little post-it. So every year I try to make like resolutions, goals, whatever you want to call it. And I put it up where a spot where I could see it. And every time I looked at it, I was like, I got time. And then now it's like, well, I don't got no time anymore. Never mind. The year just flew by.
Yeah, it did. It really did. More so when I see Christmas cards from people with their families and young children
Mm,
to see how much they've grown. Just a few years. It's like amazing.
yeah. So I know that you've been doing some reflecting in this past year. Um, Give us like, do you have like a greatest hits, the best things that happened this year, the things that were the toughest?
I think the best thing that happened was it's all COVID related, of course. I think it not forced us, but we had to make a decision on how we did service, how we are approaching ministry, because it couldn't be the same in-person gathering where you expect to have everybody return, and it couldn't be that. It was never
Mm,
going to be that, and so we had to wrap our minds around that, and then make the pivot. Yeah, that's the word that's been floating around. We had to pivot accordingly, and so the online presence. I hear a lot of reports and reviews that thank you for doing that. You guys do it so well, and so that was a big move, and it's not going to go away. I think we still have to continue with that, but that was a big
yeah,
deal.
that was a pretty big deal. I remember like being on, I mean, when Zoom first became a thing, everyone was kind of like, man, what are we gonna do? Like, how do we do this? And no one was sure what was going on. But now
Mhm.
that we're, well, I don't know if I want to say tail end, but like we've been in it for a while. Um, we've all kind of fallen into more or less a rhythm of like how to do things, schedule, how to do things well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, even to master the false background in Zoom calls, like mine right now, it's just false background. It makes it look like it's my kitchen and rotating fan above me. And it's just an image.
Yeah, if you look closely, just the outline of Pastor Owen, it's all just a green screen. Everything's just green screens these days.
But that the downside, in reflection, downside, things happen for a reason. Kind of like what I said on Sunday. God is in control of everything, but COVID related too. People have left. They've left Metro. They're going on to other churches, and you just bless them. As they go, as they leave. Disagreed with some of the things that we were trying to do at Metro, protocol wise, and we had to set up some policies because I really do want to take care of the people that are coming. We have a bunch that are kupuna or older,
Hmm.
and so it's not for yourself. I don't want to wear the mask. Okay, there are people around you that you have to be careful and just take care. So yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, I remember back, I want to say it was 2020, um, but you were saying that a crisis is an accelerator of the trends that are already happening.
Yeah,
I feel like especially this past year, it's been like, wow, yeah, everything has been like all of the small things became huge things in this
yeah,
past year. And I've just been thinking about that phrase of like, it's accelerating things that are already kind of been in motion.
yeah, yeah. I got that from Carrie Newhoff. Carrie Newhoff does a blog. It's a lot of good things. He's been my online mentor, so to speak. So I get his newsletter and I read through that. There's some resources that he points you to. I don't get them all. I'm not a groupie of his, but the good ones I keep. And so that was really, really good to hear because it's true. It's so true. The things that are already in motion. And when you hit a crisis, and it's not just COVID, you hit a crisis, say in your marriage, if things aren't going well in your marriage, and then you hit the divorce papers are dropped on the table, man, that accelerates everything, you know. your baby's coming. So if your relationship isn't solid going into
Yeah.
the birth of your baby, when that baby comes, it is a
Def-
crisis.
yeah, it's definitely a crisis when you
Yeah,
have no
yeah,
sleep. And
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So how do you balance time? How do you give more attention to the things that need attention? So it's going to accelerate a bunch of things. So
Yeah, it's been really good. We've just been Ashley and I, as we're prepping. This is a little high chair that we just have next to us. But we've been prepping and like talking through stuff like that of like, hey, how are we gonna deal with no sleep when we're both angry at each other for nothing, you know?
yeah,
So definitely trying to set up well. Definitely trying to set up well. Which brings us to this whole intro. I feel like has been a little metaphor for what I think was the biggest point of the message for me, the biggest thing that I took away. So this past Sunday, we talked about fighting one more round. You talked about, what's his name? The gentleman? Was that his
yeah,
name?
yeah. Jim Corbett,
Jim
gentleman
Corbett.
Jim Corbett.
Gentleman Jim Corbett. And he was like, when you're down and out, he's pro boxer back in the day. He said, when you're down and out, just fight one more round and just one more round. Um, but one of the big ones, you were talking about like being a non-anxious presence, like just being confident in knowing that God is in control, and especially coming out of this Christmas season, one of the things that you talked about was looking back before you look forward. And so for the Christian, Christmas is all about looking back to the promises that God fulfilled through Jesus. And so we remember that God fulfills his promises to us in the future. But just looking back at the past year, the past things that we're going through as Metro prepares to turn 10 very soon. Just looking back at all of the blessings and all of the promises that God has been faithful to, and taking that time to say, okay, this is what's happened. This is how God has worked through it. And so moving forward, we know that he's going to be good in the same way, you know?
Yeah. And that's kind of God's uh, kind of the way that he operates, it seems. People of Israel, they cross the river Jordan. He says to them, make a pile of these stones, an altar of stones, take a stone from the river, one for each tribe, so that when your grandchildren look back and they say, what are these stones for? So they're looking back before they can move forward.
Mm-hmm.
And so, there's a bunch of things that are similar to that throughout the entire Bible. And so I think if that's God's nature, that we take a look back before we look forward, then that should be a part of our lives, especially when you come to the end of a year. End of a year is a turn of page. It can be just a calendar date change, but it's more significant than that, I think. It's a marker where everybody says, well, or you choose whatever you want to do. What has happened in my past, and now what am I going to do in the future? Because what I've gone through, I can either continue or no, that's it. No more. Forward, And it's funny. So last night we were watching Scrooge, one of the later versions of Scrooge. I really liked it. They're different. I forget what year it was made in, but it gave more an explanation of why Scrooge was the way he was, and Jacob Marley. And I said to Joy, this is exactly what we talked about. The spirits had to take him back before he could change himself moving forward. I should have used that in my message. But that's what life seems to be like. If you don't look back and see what's happened, how are you going to make the adjustments moving forward? So.
I also like it because, I'm fairly young. I'm still got a lot of life ahead of me, but having people, like, as you said, our church is kind of full of kapunas and stuff, which are just ripe with wisdom and life experience. And so you can have those people who look back, and even though the contexts have changed, because I can barely remember pre-internet, and so like all the kids who are growing up are just digital natives. They've never been disconnected from the internet and all of that, so context is definitely different. But the life lessons and like the constant things are like, what do I do when I'm stressed? Or like, I don't know what it's like to have a brand new baby. Like being able to have the people that you can look you can ask about, hey, when you look back, what are the things that you wish you did differently? What are the lessons that you wish you knew going into it? And having those kind of like those mentors in different areas to draw from.
Yeah, especially in when it comes to struggle, I think we will all struggle. I mean, that's
Mm-hmm.
just life. When you're younger, you don't have as much, experiences of struggling, of having to persevere, and if you don't have someone guiding you through that, you're going to always expect the resolution to be immediate. That's why you have the Facebook. I don't like that, delete. I don't like that guy's comment. Get rid of him. Versus just pressing through, tough times. The older ones have gone through that, I think, because us even less than our parents did. Our parents went through even more.
Mm.
And so baby boomers have gone through some of it, but not as much as their parents have. But then it gets less as you get older. Technology takes over, it becomes more of an immediate kind of a lifestyle, immediate results, immediate decisions. And so how do you press through those kind of times? So when you look back before you look forward, as a more younger generation, I don't have that much in my background, so I'm just going to move forward. And you miss a lot of things. And I think you're right. The kupuna is a treasure chest of wisdom and experience. And it'd be cool, I just tuck this in your brain, Willie. If you get some of the young adults together, young professionals together, and then invite some kupunas and just have a conversation. Put them up on a table and say, hey, can we ask you some questions about life? And then just be open to that. It'd be so awesome, I think.
Yeah, that would be super cool. I remember we did pretty recently, as part of like the staff leadership training, we did like a timeline of our lives by decade.
Yeah.
And you went first, and I was looking at mine, and I was like, "Oh, I haven't even hit 3 yet."
Yeah. I'm going on to like page number 10 or something.
Yeah. You like have it all laid out. There's like different points of important things, and I'm like, oh man.
Born and now.
Yeah, basically. I was born, and then that brings us to right now. But yeah, so Pastor Elwin, as you look back, not only on this year, but as the past, your life, the life of Metro, this past year, these past few years that have been really rough. What have been those persevere moments that you look back at and you say, like, because I know what happened then, I can look forward now?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of it has to do with expectations that, you all have expectations. You got to have goals and, things that you want to hit. And otherwise you're not really a leader, So as you're looking at, your own life, and you're looking at the life of the church or organization, whether it's written down in a formal fashion, like a printed strategic plan or not, you should have something in your mind. And for me, there are certain things I'm looking forward to. And when you don't hit those marks, it causes you to pause. And, you can either go crazy, you can go, well, I'm a failure as a leader. We're never going to get out of this. It's going to be a junk year. So perspective, I talked about it in the message as well. Or your perspective can be, okay, so that's what the reality is. What do we do about it? And how do we move forward? And if God has been with us before, I know he'll be with us again. That's just God's promise. That's who God is. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. And so, as far as the church and ministry is concerned, although the first year was, rough. That first year was really rough. First couple of years, I would think. But I think God did that on purpose. I don't like negative stuff. I don't like to be in a stressful situation, but I go back to that a lot. God was with us. And if he was, there's a story that goes something like this. This boy is in the hospital. I think they said he's dying. And the nurse comes in and she starts to teach him vowels and how to speak clearer. And I think another doctor came in, or his mom came in and said, how are you doing? And the boy his spirit was just lifted. And she said, what made the difference? And he said, well, they're teaching me something new. I don't think they would teach something new to somebody who's going to die. And it's like, wow. It just changed your whole perspective. God wouldn't have saved our church in the beginning if this church was meant to die.
Mm.
And so as whatever tough moments we hit in ministry, it's okay. We've been there, and God's been there, and he's continued to walk with us, and will continue to walk with us. So that's been really good for me, to show that you keep going, keep stepping, keep walking forward. And this word that was given over us, a prophetic word, the guy who was giving the word kept saying this. God would say, and the Spirit of the Lord says, watch and see what I'll do. I don't have to do much except be obedient. Watch and see what I'll do, says God. And so, yeah, it's been quite a journey.
That's really cool. I love that. You were in the message, you talked a little bit about like being a non-anxious presence, having that, I want to say like a deep ballast in life, like the ships, they have this part that goes underneath and then it's like heavy so that it's like a counterbalance so they don't rock as much.
Yeah.
And throughout scripture and throughout like just stories of different people who've been following God for thousands of years, what always builds that is honestly just suffering.
Yeah.
And so like looking at the rough times of life, and it feels like the rougher they are, the deeper that ballast becomes and the stronger it becomes, that going through those moments of pain and suffering and those like, why God, why me moments, like really when we get to the other side and we look back, we can say like, oh, God got me through that. What we're going through right now is small potatoes, or like it is just as bad, but I'm going into it and going through it knowing that God is with me through it all.
Yeah. And I think when you're younger and you go through, you get hit with a challenge and then you can't see the end. Where is this going to end? How is it going to resolve? So you're going through that period. Brandon talked about it in his Christmas message, that hope, the tension that happens, and you don't see it, and you think, oh, it's a long time, and it'll resolve. It'll resolve. God will help you to resolve that. And when you resolve it, you look back and go, wow, that was wow, I couldn't believe we went through that. Okay, so that's that. Next time you hit it, you're going to get hit again. And the next time you press and you persevere, it's going to seem like the resolution comes a little quicker. Just in your spirit, you feel better. And the next time it's going to get even quicker. And so for me, having gone through just everything that I've gone through in my life and still going through, whenever I get hit with something, it's only like, okay, we'll get through this. We'll be okay.
Yeah.
Because I've been through all of that. I know what that tension feels like. And I don't have to go through these things about wondering when or how. And totally trust God. You've been there. I had front row seats, and so you're gonna do it again. I just know that.
That's really cool. Yeah, just that idea of like through learning, through going through the lesson multiple times, it's like, all right, you know what? I'm done like trying to do this my own way. I know that the quicker that I just trust God, then the quicker that it's not it's going to resolve, but the quicker that I switch burdens with Jesus, as he says in Matthew, of like, okay, God, I know that I'm stressed out. I know that I'm overworked. I know that I'm like wondering when all of this is going to end. And instead of like, no, I'll just do it. I'll just like put my head down, get to it, get through it. Say, okay, God, Jesus, I'm going to take you at your word and like take your yoke, which is light, and your burden, which is easy.
Yeah. Okay, record this now. It's been recorded because you're going to have to listen to this when you have your second kid and your third kid, because it's basically the same. First kid, oh, what do I do? Fever at night. Oh, she's coughing. And, you go through all of this stuff about stressing. Second kid, no fever. He's fine. Third kid, fourth kid, fifth kid. What kid?
Oh, I don't
Yeah,
know if the I don't know if you're putting that if that's prophecy or what, but
but the more you go through that, the less you worry because it's going to resolve. It's going to happen, and you can trust that God has His hand on it, and you don't worry as much. So, yeah. So think of 5 names already. Get ready.
oh, we're just gonna go 12 disciples down the line.
Okay, go 12.
Oh, I can't imagine. Ooh, ooh. I'm very excited to have a kid. I'm not saying it's gonna be bad, but 12. Ooh. What was I gonna say? I was gonna ask you a good question. Okay, people listening to this, they're either young in life or young in the faith. Um, Either they haven't gone through really extended periods of suffering or perseverance, or they have and they're just learning how to go through these periods with Jesus. What advice, what practices, what steps would you give them to shorten that time where we say, okay, God, I trust you?
Yeah, don't walk it alone. I think
Mm,
that's the biggest piece of advice I can give you. Anybody who's young, either in age or in the faith. There are others that God has placed in your midst. They're there. They're around. Take the initiative to go and ask. Find somebody that you can count on, that you can call on. You know, they give you permission.
yeah, great way to do that.
Yeah.
Metro Connect groups.
Yep.
Super easy. We got a Connect group finder. We've got Cameron, who's basically just there to plug everyone into Connect groups to help everyone with their spiritual growth and formation. You can head over to our website. We've got the group finder there. It's got days and times where everyone meets. Finding a group that you can really depend on when you do go through these tough moments is, as Pastor Owen just said, it's critical.
And I would say, you know, intergenerational too. Don't look for people that are only in your little bubble or in your echo chamber, you know, that you only think generationally like this. I would say jump in a group where you have a mixture because you want to get a good, it's what's called a constellation model of mentorship. So people that are older than you, people that are your peers, and people that may be younger than you. So you learn from all 3 or all 4 perspectives. So look for that. That would really help you if you're young. Yeah.
Yeah. Any other advice for how to shorten that time for between going through something and just not giving up, but like giving it to God?
Yeah, I think, you know, mentoring again is either in person. You can also have people mentoring you at a distance, and that's what I do. So I mentioned that guy Kerry Newhoff as a mentor. He is. I have never met him, but somehow I got turned on to his material, and I found it very reliable. So look for somebody like that. Craig Rochelle. There's some other great leaders out there. They have books. They have podcasts. Everything is online now. It's so easy.
Yeah.
There really is. There really is no excuse why you cannot be mentored by someone.
Kind of a double-edged sword because you get it's the ease of the really good resources, and then it's the ease of finding really bad resources.
Yeah. Plus online one too, you can easily walk away from it.
Yeah.
In person, they'll go, hey, so what's up? We haven't met in like the last 3 months, you know. So yeah. But
I've been turning back to the ancients because same way there's this pastor in Portland. I mean, I think that I've talked about him, but John Mark Comer has just been really helpful for just spiritual formation and everything. And his whole thing is like, we are so forward focused that we're like, who's the next up and coming, all of that. And he's like, why aren't we reading like Augustine and like all of the saints from back in the day who like had it all figured out already? So I've been reading a lot of those kind of books. Not a lot, but I've been dabbling in like older books and media and stuff, and it's been really good. Just the stuff, it's really like paradigm shifting.
Yeah, that's good. And you want to lay that all before the Lord too. Yeah, let God, the Holy Spirit, have final say, because reading is good. It exposes you to things. But you want the Holy Spirit to help you to filter through a lot of stuff too.
Yeah, I mean, there's stuff that's just doesn't work anymore because like we have roads and cars, and it's like we don't have to walk, and we can't really like exile, and like go into the desert. It's like, oh, that doesn't really happen anymore.
Yeah.
The internet is a thing as opposed to back then. But as we were just talking about, like the core concepts of what do you do when you're suffering? How do you like break away from the distractions, which are only getting worse and worse and more designed to like hack your neurons to become addicted to it? How do we pull ourselves away from those and focus our attention to Jesus?
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, that's why the examine yourself, concept is important. And it shouldn't be only with communion. I think examine yourself should be a daily thing, maybe, or at the end of the week. So, Lord, how was my week? What did we do this last week, Lord? And what have I done that I should repent of? And before I look forward to next week, so it should be an examination we go through every week.
Yeah, it's really good. And this is the perfect time to do that. We ended the service in person. We had the little post-its, wrote it down, put it in the jar of all of everybody's prayers from the prayer wall, prayed over them through communion, but going through not just having it at the end of the year, but end of the month, end of the week, end of the day, having it as a more regular part of our life schedule.
Yeah, because like I said, you keep doing it, and that whoever that person was, they said you listen to the song 30 times and you don't think about the lyrics anymore. It just becomes a part of just singing it. And it can be the same way with our spiritual practices, reading the Bible, praying. You listen to Christian music all the time. Well, it's just noise now in the background. It's no longer something you're worshiping toward.
Yeah. Man, I can't tell you how many times I've been like in worship or something, and it's the song that I've heard just over and over. And so I'm singing, but then I realize like, wait, I'm thinking about lunch after this. Like my body's just on autopilot right now.
Yeah.
So just going at things with new eyes and just like, hey, pretend that this is the first time you're hearing this, or like the first time that you're cracking open this book of the Bible or something like that has been really good too.
Yeah. That's good. Good stuff.
Good stuff. Well, Pastor Elman, another year in the books.
Yeah. Thanks, Willie. You're doing a great job. Doing a really good job, next gen and doing these, podcasts and stuff. So looking forward to next year. I think it's going to be, I really want us to do more intentionality, doing things with intentionality. We're going to move out of this pandemic thing quickly. I really think so. I mean, they're looking at it, Omicron or whatever. CDC has already shortened the quarantine day now to 5, from 2 weeks to 5 days. So, I think we're really moving quickly through this.
Things are changing. Oh, real quick. We just went through the whole time basically of looking back, looking at the past. You got any like sneak peeks for what we got planned next year? You just said a little bit about intentionality. You I think it was Christmas, you talked about your Paniolo party for the 10th anniversary.
Anniversary is going to be a party. It's going to be 10th anniversary. Yeah, I think in Paniolo party. Panioli party. And it's amazing how many guys came up to me after, oh, I have this hat that I've been storing up. I haven't been able to wear it for anything. Trying to get some bales of hay out there. So it'll be a fun time. But moving to the year, I don't have very specific things. I want to do something pretty big for the community, Kalihi community. We did a 4th of July celebration at Aloha Tower when we were there. Invited the whole community. We had games and food and all that. And boy, a lot of people showed up. So I'm thinking, what if we do something in the Kalihi area, partnering with some of the Kalihi other preschools in the Kalihi community, Kalihi Kapalama School, some of the elementary schools, and find ways that we can give back to them. So I'm thinking of that for a summer kind of deal.
Cool.
And then throughout the year, some others, maybe once a quarter, some kind of an outreach deal. I'm also on a board. I'm a director on a board that does a lot more community-oriented things, and I'll find out more about that. How we can engage the church into things that they're already doing,
Mm,
so we don't have to reinvent the wheel. You know, they already got it going. They just need volunteers to help. Like, for example, working a lo'i, cleaning out a taro patch. You know, and these are for at-risk kids and whatever. So we can work right alongside them. So that'd be kind of cool.
very cool. Very cool. Well, I'm excited for the new year. I've only got a few more weeks before I disappear, which
Yeah, it's gonna be a ministry
ah,
baby. That baby's gonna be strapped to your back.
yeah, I'm gonna be playing dodgeball. Don't
Yeah.
hit the baby. I'm really excited for the next year. But Pastor Elwin, thank you. Everyone go to our website for events to register for upcoming services. See what's going on here at Metro. We'll see you Sunday with all of your fingers.
Yep.
And
Yep.
yeah, thanks for joining us on the Hana podcast.
See you next year.
See you next year.